Okay, let's try and unpack this. We've got quite a stack of documents here. It's about a construction dispute, but honestly, it goes way beyond your typical issues. It's like a legal maze. So our mission today, dive into these sources, pull out the key bits, and try to untangle this mess of claims, expert reports, and, well, a really controversial settlement agreement. So at its core, right, it's this legal fight. You've got a plaintiff, a construction company called Aracon, and then a second defendant, an engineering firm, Salah Al-Kahiji Engineering. And the initial claims were, pretty standard stuff, unfinished work, alleged defects. Seemed simple enough at first glance.
But what's really fascinating, I think, is how one single document just takes over the whole case. It's this thing called a settlement agreement, supposedly between the plaintiff and that engineering company. And the way a court expert handled it, well, that's causing a huge stir. Because first, the plaintiff actually uses this agreement, like holds it up as proof the engineers were negligent. But then, and this is the twist, when the actual paper shows up in court, the plaintiff says, nope, never signed it. It's a forgery.
A forgery?
Yeah.
After using it? That's something.
Yes.
And this is where the expert Ali Bazad comes in, right? His first report,
Yeah.
It was cautious.
Exactly. Cautious is a good word. In his initial draft, he was very careful about the signature issue. He even calculated what the engineering company might owe, almost 18,000 Bahraini dinars, if that signature really was forged, covering the bases. But then the final report, it just completely flipped.
Flipped out.
Well, he didn't just say the engineering company owed nothing. He went further. He concluded the plaintiff actually owed the engineering company money, over 10,000 dinars. And get this, that amount included 8,000 dinars. The engineering company had already paid his compensation under that very settlement agreement.
Wait, so the plaintiff gets paid compensation, then is told they owe that same money back, plus more.
Precisely. And from Aracon's point of view, remember, they're the other defendant, the construction company. This is hugely unfair. They're potentially left holding the bag for costs related to defects that another party, the engineering firm, seemingly admitted to and paid for.
Yeah.
It potentially violates that legal idea of, unjust enrichment, one party benefiting unfairly.
Okay, my head's spinning a bit already. But there's more, isn't there? Something about the validity of the agreement itself.
Yes. So the second defendant, Salah Al-Kahiji Engineering, they threw another spanner in the works. They argue the settlement agreement wasn't even valid to begin with. They claim it wasn't actually made with them, but with a different entity, something called SKC Engineering. And crucially, it was based on a report by someone, Ahmed Al-Hawi, who they allege was a former employee. He'd supposedly left the company a year before writing it.
A former employee writing reports.
That's the allegation.
Yeah.
And they claim this report from February 2024, attesting to defects, is therefore forged, in a sense, or at least unauthorized. And it gets even wilder. There's apparently an audio recording.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, an audio recording where the same individual, Al-Hawi, supposedly admits he was actually working for the plaintiff during an earlier site visit by a different expert. Plus, the contractor who actually did the repairs under that settlement. He testified the problems were just minor finishing things, not the major structural issues the plaintiff claimed.
So let's try and connect this back to Aracon. What does all this mean for them? This settlement agreement forged or not? Flipped liability or not? It listed specific defects, right? Staircase stuff, plaster repairs, things marked as settled.
Correct. And it also listed other items like finishing an external wall and doing interlock paving as mutually canceled, meaning the plaintiff supposedly agreed to drop any claims about those things.
But Aracon's saying the expert's final report still makes them responsible for those canceled items. Even the paving, which they say wasn't even part of their original job.
That seems to be Aracon's position, yes. They feel they're being charged for things that were either settled by someone else, canceled entirely, or never their responsibility to begin with. And all this is happening against a pretty grim backdrop for Aracon. The company actually shut down in 2021, and its owner imprisoned in early 2023. Aracon claims this was due to debt stemming directly from the plaintiff not paying them. And this whole settlement saga with the engineering company, it apparently happened entirely without Aracon even knowing about it.
Wow. So it started as a construction dispute, and it's morphed into this incredibly tangled legal mess. Allegations of forgery, switch liability, questionable reports, a company going under, someone in jail. It's a lot.
It really highlights how complex these things can get and how devastating the consequences can be when information is disputed or potentially manipulated.
So, yeah, after diving into all this, you're left with some pretty big questions, aren't you? Like, when is a settlement actually settled? And how much can things get twisted When key details are hidden or maybe overlooked or maybe worse, it really makes you think, what does it take to find the actual truth when one document can cause so much chaos and potentially ruin lives? Something to chew on.